Good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning. Welcome to another scene for Living World of Darkness, Cameron and Ventru venue. So this evening, a new Malkavian has arrived in the city and has purchased a bookstore called Mysteries, which is on 7th Avenue. And he's sent an open message out to all members of the Manhattan Fife that they are welcome to come and say hello. Mysteries is a small, quite quaint, quite personal bookstore. It's nestled in behind several other big tourist locations. It's not really, it's a little bit off the beaten track. It doesn't have huge numbers in and out of the door. And it's run by a woman by the name of Vorna, who you'll see at the door. Thatch tends to always spend his time in the window on one of the lounge chairs. Thatch is... I'll just put this one up. This gentleman here with a beard. And he sat looking out of the window, awaiting any who may come to greet him.
Just a quick question. Was there a time for the invitation, or was it just during the night?
It would have been literally just across the evening, so he wouldn't have given a specific time.
Fairly,
Okay.
somewhat early in the evening. A person will come, a woman in a hoodie, short blonde hair, and sort of like training, jogging club, and she will just enter and just to begin with just have a quick look around. She seems to be looking at more specific section of books.
So you'll notice as you come in, most of the books are quite old in here, and a lot of them err towards the occult, or as we would all know as Kindred, fictional occult. A lot of it's things like Bram Stoker's Dracula, people theorizing that these creatures actually exist, but actually untrue. Whilst you come in, if I could... Is anybody... No, it's cool. I'm going to roll my Auspex aura perception.
That is difficulty 8, right?
I believe it is, yeah. Perception, empathy, difficulty 8. So, perception... 8. So, I got one success, which is... Luckily I have the book to hand.
I believe it is that you notice that this, well, maybe there are many others, maybe there's some others, but you will notice that the woman who has entered, who is currently looking at some of these books, has a pale aura, faded aura, shall we say.
Super. So, Thatch will close the book that he's got open, and he will slowly approach the woman. Now, rather than directly approach her, he actually moves to the bookshelf beside her and starts trailing his finger along the spines of several of the books.
You're aware that she does not keep an eye on you, but she does register that you're coming and just down. She sees you just having your fingers trail down the books. She'll just...
Did you receive the message as it was written?
Quite. Yeah, I did. You're Thatch, right?
That's how my name is written. In the book that we all live.
Emily looked a little puzzled, but then she just, oh, right. Okay. I see. Yeah. Uh, um, she puts her hand forward. Hi, Emily.
He'll look at your hand for a moment and then kind of stare directly at you. A little bit. He doesn't seem uncomfortably, but it's very much against social norm. And then he'll reach out and shake Emily's hand quite vigorously. And he'll be like, "Welcome, welcome. I knew this was how it was to be written, and how it was to be read. It is a pleasure to meet you, I think."
Emily just looks at him, and just looks at him quickly, and she just says, "Thanks, I think." And then she just, I mean, thanks. So, you just arrived, or what?
I literally have been in my in the as and he kind of starts to stagger and he looks around for a bit and he sets his finger on one of the books, and it's an old kind of tome about the Salem witch trials, or fictional Salem witch trials, and he'll take it out and he places his hand on it, and it seems to give him a new sort of confidence, and he takes a breath and he goes, "Me and my sire, the scholar, you've may or may not have heard of him, have travelled from Rhode Island. He has gone on to do his own things, as it is written on the book of our existence, and I am to stay here, as is indexed."
Right. Okay. All right. That makes. Yeah. That makes sense.
I've I cheekily of me, I skipped ahead a couple of pages and sent a letter to the prince. He's going to meet me in a few days. Unfortunately, I cannot find the page in which that is written, but I'm sure I will come across it soon enough.
Yeah. It's better, and well, I suppose on that accord, it's better to. Well, you may skip a few pages, but doing as soon as you do that, the more respect the more serious you take it, and that's probably the best way to, or the smart thing to do.
So, and he'll start the question, and then he'll have a look around just to double check that the store is empty, all apart from his ghoul Vorna, who's a very hippie-looking woman. She's got long hair; it's kind of entangled. She's got several pagan and Wiccan symbols around her neck, and she looks very much a woman of nature. He'll look at her, and she'll kind of move towards the top of the stairs as if to watch for anyone coming in. And after she does that, he turns and he goes, "So, of which clan are you? Are you Ruha? Gangrel? Toreador? You don't seem much like they've written of Toreadors. You could possibly, from your somewhat rabble-rousing attire, be a Bruja."
Well, it's. I always preface it by asking if I can ask. Some people find it a little intrusive, but no problem. I'm from Clan Gangrel, but
Ah, one of the Gangrel. It has been a long time since I have read of your kind. It is an honor to finally be reading these pages with you.
well, thanks.
What do they call you? They call me Thatch. What are you called in the book?
Emily.
Ah, Emily. He starts frantically kind of moving around in his pockets, inside his kind of. It's a very well worn, very dodgy leather jacket, and he pulls out this little palm-sized, leather-bound book that's frayed on the edges, and he pulls out a little pencil to go with it, and he flicks it open, and you'll see it's got loads of scribblings in it, and he flips to a page that's probably about 15, 20 pages in. And at the top, he scribbles in shorthand GREL, and then he writes Emily underneath. And next to it, he writes, "Must read more pages of this Emily." And then he puts it away, puts it into his pocket, and then kind of starts staring at Emily again.
Yeah. All right.
So
she points at the book and just, you don't. I mean, have you thought of using a computer for that, or are you more?
It is not written that I should use computers. And as we are all part of a book written on the skin of Cain himself and bathed in the blood of Melkath, I would not wish to change that.
Right. You can tell that Emily's not necessarily scared, but she's a little bit more miffed when you use that kind of language. Just right. Sure.
Because I'm just going to roll my perception empathy, because the likelihood is he's not going to notice it, but he might notice.
Emily is shit at hiding it, so.
That's pretty good. I may still one success.
Get one success and you'll see it.
Nope. I do not see that.
Alright. He
pays absolutely no attention to the fact that you react in that way.
She just.
Would you care to borrow a book? I mean, I'm a bookstore, so most of the time, as is written all over these shelves, these are written into the hands of people. But for my kind, I can happily loan.
She looks around. Maybe.
Maybe this one on animalistic mating rituals. It has a part on.
No thanks. Emily just looks at him and shoots him like eyes and just no.
Oh.
Who put you up to this? She just asks him.
No one. It was just written that I should ask you, so I have. You are one of the Gangrel.
Yeah, but
close to
I
wild.
Don't fucking. Emily stops herself and she just stands there for a second.
He'll look at her and he'll be like, maybe the feeding rituals of the North African elephant.
Emily just.
I'm pretty sure this was probably written.
How about I choose a book? She looks at him.
That could be written that way. Yes, it is obviously written that you must choose yourself.
She looks around for a while, and is it only like there's no prose? I mean, like it's only like novels and like fiction, right?
We are all part of one great fiction. So within these walls, these are simply different tales within that fiction. Some mortals who do not realize that we are part of that greater being would call this section non-fiction and this section fiction.
Out of character, I was asking. It is only like there is no like it's only novels, right?
He has loads of factual books, so it's a combination of fiction and non-fiction.
She will actually look at some of the more factual books if they are in the store. She'll just study some of them.
He doesn't seem to have a concept of personal space. He's not like really in your face as you were looking through the books, but he's definitely not afraid to hold back. And he's always, as you're looking through the books, he's always tracing his fingers along the spines. He occasionally tidies them up. And he'll occasionally pick a book out, take the book out of his pocket and scribble some notes down. Most of the time, it's just gibberish. He's not making an effort to hide what he's writing.
You will actually see there will be some. It's not a self-help book, but it's like it's a book on uh, not micro expressions, but generally like sociology, essentially. And she'll just look at those, and she'll take one of them and just flip through it real quick. She'll just, if it's all right, this one might be something I.
Yes, that is how the story of Emily shall be written. You shall get some. And he has a look at the cover of the book and goes, self-help? You know, please know that Thatch has been written to help those of his kind, and if you ever just need someone to talk to, I'm here to, how do they say, listen.
Well, thanks for the offer.
Mysteries is always open till late night.
All right, and well, I'm a hound of the city, just so you know. If there is any concerns with the sheriff, it sometimes is easier if you just tell me stuff and I'll pass it along.
That sounds interesting. The sheriff of this town, her name, as written in the books, is Ghost. Am I correct?
Yep.
She has another name, but that is hidden from the pages. Maybe it will be in the appendix or similar. Who knows?
Well, it's not that secret, but
I will ask her.
yeah, just remember to be nice and polite. Just,
Where
just
where are the Elysiums?
well, there's a new Elysium. Remember the venture. Emily will just look up, and she'll give you like an approximate description of where it is.
Hmm. I have seen these pages. I have read this. I must visit this Elysium. Thatch will visit this Elysium.
Right. Right.
He
Yeah. You should. You should.
takes another look around to make sure that the shop is empty of everyone but Vorna. And every time the two of them match eyes, they kind of smile, but it's a really awkward smile. And then he'll turn back and he'll go, and he'll try and whisper, but it turns out being a loud whisper. And he'll say, I am Thatch of Clan Malkavian, and as it is written, we shall be friends.
Emily just chews on that for a couple of seconds. Well, sure. Right. Do you have a phone?
Yes, yes! It is written that I should have this iPhone. And he pulls out his iPhone and he starts tapping away super quick on it. Not celerity quick, but super quick. And he puts it towards Emily and he's like, please, please, enter your number so that I may know that it is written.
A small sigh can be heard from Emily. She just, all right. And she they will exchange numbers.
Super. And may I, it is polite, I think, to ask this. May I ask if you are part of a coterie of our kin, Emily? For I am looking for one now that I've arrived in this city.
Well, there's some things developing. At this moment, officially, no, but there might be something going on the following couple of days.
As Hound, would you care to maybe begin one with myself? It is always better to begin as it is written than it is to end or wait for another to begin. The best stories are written by those who start.
Well, that might not actually be true. I have certain things I must respect, and it involves some people I have known for quite a while, and we're still working out some of the details. But I'll get back to you when I can.
I am although not as affluent as the Tremere are written, I am a specialist in the knowledges of our kind and of the occult. Any use I can have, as is written, I can provide.
Well, we'll probably be seeing a lot more of each other in coming nights. I hope.
I may see you in Elysium.
Yeah, and we'll meet each other.
If it is not written that I see her before, could you please add to the appendices that I intend to form a coterie of our brethren so that we may further help Manhattan. It is something I intend to bring to the Prince, but as you are close to the Sheriff, Thatch believes that you should write it with her that maybe a coterie can begin. Once you have, of course, discussed it with these friends that you have known and have been written alongside for a very long time.
Sure, I'll let her know. But nice meeting you, and yeah, I'll see you later.
Please take the book, and yes, I will see you later. I think at this point it is written that I should say goodbye, so goodbye.
Right, a very Emily, again with this puzzled expression, just turns around and exits the store, and she'll just lightly shake her head as she's walked a bit away from it, not really knowing how much of the conversation the person she just talked to actually got. She has no idea because she quickly realized that this was a part of the Clan Malkov or Clan Malkavian, but how much she actually got, who knows. But Emily will begin to leave the area.
Super. And he will return to his seat in the corner and stare out of the window.
If he's going to stare out of that window, he's going to stare for a very long time. The father will not arrive until 2 o'clock at night. When he's done with his shift in the church, he will pass by to Mysteries and see if he can be still received this night by this newcomer in the city.
At 2 a.m., the street and the store itself is very empty. You'll hear the crying of cats fighting in the streets, and the lights in the store itself will be dimmed, but there is still signs of activity on the inside. You'll now see that sat at the bottom of the stairs, just inside the door, is the woman described earlier, Vorna. She's sat on a chair, just her legs crossed. She's reading a book, but she's got one eye on the book and one eye to the door. The door itself says close, but as she sees the father approach, she looks at him closely and then moves towards the door to open it.
The father, not willing to impose, looking at the door and says it's closed. Hesitates for a moment, but as he doesn't want to show disinterest towards Fauna, assuming that she's the one that might be either serving the newcomer or is the newcomer itself. He keeps standing at the door, and as she opens the door, he looks around and said, I'm sorry I am at a late hour. However, I was presuming that there would be someone here to receive me, as I have been receiving an invitation.
So, just a second, I've just rolled for aura perception again on the father, and I got 3 successes. So, 3 successes, I can recognize color patterns. So,
Well, you have to run me through the patterns to know which one you'll see first.
no worries. So, we've got orange, which is afraid, purple, aggressive, red, angry, brown, bitter, light blue is calm, pink is compassionate, lavender is conservative, grey is depressed, deep red is desirous or lustful, light green is distrustful, dark green is envious, violet is excited, rose is generous, vermilion is happy, black is hateful, yellow is idealistic, white is innocent, blue is love-struck, green is obsessed, silver is sad, gold is spiritual, dark blue is suspicious. Auras appear scrambled like static if you're anxious. Mottled, shifting colours if confused. Black veins if you're delirious, but I don't have enough to detect that. Sharp, flickering colours if daydreaming. Rapidly rippling colours if frenzied. Well, no, you're not frenzied. Hypnotic, swirling colours of psychotic. Aura colours are pale if you're a vampire. That much I will have.
And the first one will be pale. The second one will be calm.
Cool.
And the third one will be spiritual.
Okay.
Because I assume that's the way you can see high humanity in this.
I would assume that would be the way.
Yeah.
And spirituality, obviously, we know the father is religious, so I can see that.
Oh, yes.
STs can tell us otherwise if they're, but they're not around at the moment, so we'll make a decision.
Right, so fuck them. That's what you.
Right, so Vorna doesn't, although it doesn't come across rude, she bows her head to acknowledge that she's seen you. And then she turns around to shout upstairs, and her shout doesn't really... You can just about make out that she shouts Thatch, but her words aren't direct. They're very tired, very staggered.
Right.
At which point, Thatch will begin walking down the stairs, and he will walk past her and open the door. And he will be like, it was written that another one would arrive before I was due to close these doors. Please, you appear to be... Are you wearing... I'm guessing you're wearing your priest vestments.
Yeah, always.
Always. So he'll be like, you are written as a priest. This is most interesting, especially for... And he has a look around the street just to check no one's there, and then he goes, for one of us. Please, please, come in.
The father bows towards the woman politely, and then, of course, bows towards the person who is expecting him, who has written the... And that, well, thank you for your invitation. It's very unexpected, and may I say, very uncommon surroundings. But I'm happy to be here.
It is happy to have you here. Please, come upstairs. I will have Vorna lock these doors.
As he is prepared to follow, he will nod again to Vorna as they're about to say goodbye.
So, as the pair of them walk up the stairs, Vorna will actually lock the door this time behind her, but she will return to her seat and continue her vigil from behind her book. Thatch, as you get upstairs, you enter into this wide... It's very cozy. There's a couple of couches in the middle, couch by the window, which is what he was sat on, and then several bookshelves, each of them with different subjects, a mixture of fiction and non-fiction. Very well kept, despite... It feels both cluttered and clean, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Books.
It's well kept, but it's still it's the place of a reader of books.
Exactly. And Thatch will walk over to one of the chairs, and he'll be like, unless it is written otherwise, would you care to talk, or would you care to peruse my books? After all, it is written that we are all readers.
That's a fact. I do believe it's written by Shakespeare, I believe. Although I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've read any of his works.
Ah, Shakespeare, one of the greatest authors ever to have been written by the man himself. He will very passionately kind of slide across the floor towards one of the fictional sections, and he'll start passionately tracing his finger along it as if he's frantically looking for something. And he will pull out a very old, very dusty tome and place his hand on the top of it, and he'll be like, "This, I'm sorry, is it is it written that you are father, or are you written by another name?"
Father O'Byrne smiles and says, "You may call me as you wish. Some call me father. Some will call me Samuel, like my mother, if she was still alive. Most call me Father O'Byrne.
I
At your
had read
service."
that your mother had died. My condolences. It was written, but is yet such a sad page. I will refer to you as Samuel, for Samuel is the name that you were written from the very beginning. This is a copy of Twelfth Night, one of Shakespeare's best writings, as it was written by him himself. Please, may you have it on loan. Maybe at some point we could discuss.
I would love to. And the father will stick out his hand to receive the book. And he will, I think, more of like a habit he has. He will um, touch the cover of the book, the front especially, with his fingers, and feel every letter. He's he's a big he favors books very much. He reads a lot, and that's where he got most of his knowledges from.
So, as the father touches the book and feels along the spine and everything, you'll notice that Thatch is very drawn to the affection that the father has shown this book. And he actually gets close, not too close as to invade personal space, but he's definitely not showing any understanding of that social norm. And he kind of looks at you like a puppy would look at a new owner and says, "It is good that you have been written to read so passionately. There are very few written in the book that read as you and I do."
We all have our own roles to fulfill. Some of them is reader, some of them are not.
We should all be readers. That is how he wanted it to begin with. That is how it was written.
I think the world changes too quickly for everyone to find the time to read that what is written.
It is a sad time when it is written that a person cannot read.
It is a sad time.
He looks incredibly saddened by this. His
Well, you can
expression darkens.
hear in the father's voice that he agrees that it is sad that not many people read. But then he looks up, being in touch with this, with the feeling of the aura of what happens, and he says, "But then again, we are here, I assume, to tell the stories of what is so knowledge can be shared. Because I assume that you are a knower of book knowledges like myself."
Thatch gives him a curious look and then says, "I am a knower of things, but all I will know has already been written. Everything that we are, everything that we will be, has already been written. As I say to everyone I meet, we are all part of a book."
The father tries to wrap his mind around it, and he says, If you mean that we are predestined for certain things, then we agree. If you say that our personal choice is gone, then I can only say that not everybody possesses.
We
They
are
look beyond the stars, as he tries to explain a way that some people can look slightly into the future.
Thatch will look curiously around, and as the father looks up, Thatch will look up, but rather than looking up as if to, see something above, he will curiously dart his eyes around as if to say, "There's nothing on the ceiling. Why are you looking up?" And then he'll turn back with a curious eye, and he'll say, "It is. It was written in the beginning, and everything that is going to come will happen because it has been written. We are mere characters on this path. Surely, as one who reads one of the greatest pieces of writing within this grand story of ours and preaches it, I'm guessing, to our kind and the kind that we once were. And it's written that you should preach this because you are that passionate. Surely you should understand that everything is going to happen because it is written as it is."
The father smiles and almost wants to step up and increase his zeal about saying that because everything is written, the end of the world is nigh, as it is written as well. But he decides that because this is Thatch, and he believes that Thatch is so focused on the books and written things that he might lose him into his own mind. For he understands, and I'm willing to roll this, that he's talking to a Malkavian. And I'm willing to roll it if you want a shitload of dice.
Nah, we'll just say you do it. You've spoken to him long enough to probably realise it. I don't think you're metagaming or anything. Pretty easy to work out. Or twisted Ventry, maybe. But, nah.
So the father says, I would like to welcome you then to our city. Trying to change the subject into something that we both could feel more comfortable in without losing ourselves in too many words.
So he turns around and he starts nodding, and he tidies up so that the space where 12th Night was, it actually seems to disappear as he starts moving books around. And the absence would only be there for those that know the book was previously removed. And then he turns back to the father and he says, "So, are the of Clan Bruja, Clan Ventru, one of my kin? I do not think you are one of my kin, for I cannot hear your voices."
I am not one of your kin. I am member of the bloodline of Clan Bruja.
He looks at you, and there's this general look, this flabbergasted look, and he says, "All of the members of Clan Bruja that I have read of, that have been written into my path beforehand, on the pages of this book that we are part of, have all been rabble rousers or strong or, fighting warriors, some of them poets. But to see someone as such as yourself, Father, this is written to be an amazing caveat, a story arc worthy of the story we are part of." He looks genuinely amazed.
The father smiles and says, I think within my kind, an oddity, maybe a commodity, but indeed, I am what I am.
In the beginning, I believe many of you, I've heard stories, were warrior poets. Maybe you fulfill a similar arc? so to speak.
Philosopher kings. Indeed.
Indeed. It was written that many a great Bruja was a philosopher king.
That's true. I think I would approach that most any other type, if you want to put us between type Bruja.
Every character is an individual, as it would always be, as it always will be. He kind of places his hand on his chin and he looks deep in thought. And then he moves over to another bookcase. This one's a little dustier than the other ones, and he starts wiping dust away from it and tracing his fingers across it. And then he takes out a book, Bram Stoker's Dracula. And as he grabs it in his hand, he actually chuckles. It's the first kind of true sign of humor you've seen. And he turns to the father, and he smiles and he says, "So, Father, are you written as part of a coterie, or is that yet to be told in your story?"
I forgot to mention, my apologies. I am a fledgling only by status within this clan, and therefore I have no right to start any coterie, although this was a wish of mine. If I get the opportunity, I very much would like to be part of a coterie that focuses on knowledges.
Thatch will nod, and he will kind of look around at all of his books. He'll say, "I am written to follow the path of knowledge and to investigate the paths of knowledge. And my story will go on for aeons as a champion of all that is written and can be read. And I believe, Father, that maybe we could work together. And because of this, because of how I see this written, I will take this to the prince when I meet him. And I will politely, after I have recited my traditions and done as he has asked, request that maybe we can work together going forwards."
It would be my pleasure to work alongside you.
He will kind of tap the copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and he will nod, and his nod will go on for an unusually long amount of time, and then he will sort of kind of click back into reality and turn around and put the book back, and he will turn to Father and say, "It is now written that you were to leave, so it is probably best that we follow as is written."
The father smiles and says, "We all have our entries and our exits. This is mine."
Nod. And he'll say, "And we are all part of a book, dear Father, written on the skin of Cain himself and bathed in the blood of Malkav."
The father nods, rises from the chair he took a seat in, and then he starts walking towards the door, holding the book which has been given, almost dreamingly looking at the front again, looking forward to reading the book. And then he walks downstairs, nodding at Vana again, and says, "Have a very good night. I'm sorry I kept you up so late." And then he'll take his leave.
Smile, but again, she doesn't say any words, and she locks the door after. And following the father's exit, she actually pulls down some shutters, and the lights upstairs turn off, and Mysteries falls into darkness. And that is where we shall end the scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. Good night.
Yay, Dark Mysteries.